Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Are you glad to be here?
Yeah.
Are you happy to be here? Yes. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, then your face will really show it. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. Yes. I can tell you're happy. We always wonder, okay, we're starting back now, and how many people are going to show up for this first? Well, you are the brave ones. So anyhow, glad to have you here. And I'll say for those of you who are in the sanctuary, please be advised that this service is being transmitted via YouTube through live streaming. And for those of you who are watching the streaming service at home, we're glad to have you doing that, but we, of course, would rather you be here. And maybe that will happen before too long. I hope so. Let me remind you that we do have a pre- and post-service Zoom event, if you ever want to get onto that, which also runs the same stream that we were running on YouTube. Announcements, a lot of announcements in here, so please make sure and read the announcements in this printed order of service. And especially every week, make sure you read the weekly events, make sure you read the unigram, make sure you stay on the website so you will know what's going on. I even urge you to keep your website open on your browser just to make sure that at any moment you can look and see what's going on. We are still under pandemic conditions here, so please practice social distancing. You can see how the place is laid out here for that. The board has guidelines that you have read many times by now, but don't take chances, please. Practice all the safeguards that are in place because we don't want to lose you. I want to thank Jessica for bringing the flowers this morning. Those are lovely, Jessica. And what Jessica brings, she brings from her own yard. So that's even better. Now, the way it works with flowers is you may now bring your own floral arrangement. But if you do, we need to know about it. So if you will just send an email to worshipchair at uucolumbia.org and include your name, number, and the date you want, and we'll call you. But we do need somebody to bring flowers every week, so if you would, nice to do that. And now, let us center ourselves for today's service. And please remember to silence all your electronic devices as we listen to Anna and the Prelude.
The musical prelude is Every Night and Every Morn, with words by William Blake and music by Rafe Vaughan Williams.
Thank you, Anna. That was lovely. And now please stand and join me in the congregational covenant. It's in your order of service if you don't know it by heart already. Love is the doctrine of this congregation. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve others in community. Thus do we covenant with one another. Thank you. Please be seated. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Columbia. My name is Richard McLeod, and I am your service leader of the day. Our minister is the Reverend Stephen Robinson, and on those Sundays when Stephen is not in the pulpit, we present a variety of speakers, interesting speakers, qualified speakers, either from this congregation or from the wider community. Unitarian Universalism is a diverse and non-creedal religion. We are a covenantal religion, which means we don't have to believe the same in order to treat each other the same with respect, compassion, equity, and dignity. Our community is indeed based on deeds, not creeds. As Unitarian Universalists, we side with love, embracing all people regardless of age, color, race, socioeconomic status, physical ability, or religious background. We are a welcoming congregation, which means we also embrace LGBTQ individuals. This is Black History Month, and I think we all keep a lot of that diversity in mind. We encourage everyone to wear name tags so that we may know each other better. Visitors, if you don't have one, there's something available out in the hall you can write your name on. But we want to know who you are. Board members wear green name tags, and they always welcome your comments, your questions, or suggestions. Board members who are in the congregation, would you stand just so that people can wave at you? Yeah, okay. Good representation. Good, thank you. Now, at this time, we'd like to recognize any guests or visitors who are with us today. Or if you have guests with you, feel free to, okay, thank you. Feel free to introduce them too. So JP is going to come around with the microphone, and as he does, speak into it. Anybody? Yeah.
Hello, my name is Charles Polium. This is my wife, Olivia Cooley, and my mother, Eleanor Craig. It's the first time that we have come here, although born and raised not far from here for many, many years, and walked and driven by here and decided it's time to come. So here we are.
Wow.
Welcome.
Yeah, really welcome. That's the same story. Same story I said when I first came here. Lived nearby, wanted to try us out.
I'm Angel Robertson. I'm from Greenville, South Carolina, and have moved here to Columbia, South Carolina, and I was given the suggestion to come try out this church.
Welcome.
Now, are you new to UU, or you with the Greenville Church?
No, I was at a Baptist church in the
Okay. Well, this will be a nice change. Anybody else? Okay. Thank you all. Now, when we are further along in our recovery, we will take time to even just stand and greet each other, and then after the service, we'll even have refreshments in the social hall. But until that day, well, we still have to watch our social distancing. Today's chalice lighters are Jane and JP, and they will introduce themselves.
This is JP and I'm Jane.
Thank you for the, yeah, we need to know that.
recently, since we have been members for a while, we have taken on jobs. JP is chair of the Personnel Committee, and I'm co-chair of the Caring Committee. And what we have found out when we work on these committees, that there are some of the most dedicated, passionate people on these committees that cherish this church. And for that, we are blessed and grateful, filled with admiration and inspiration from these folks.
Yeah. And we've been UUs for about 10 years, I think, if my memories. I was a transcendentalist for about 40 years, wandering around in the Montana wilderness. But anyway, here's some words of wisdom. May the flame of this chalice shine on our future, lighting the path for all who will come after us with new ways, new understanding, and brave love.
Spirit of light and life, come unto us. Thank you both.
Our musical meditation this morning is For Alina for Clavier by Arvo Pärt. I invite you to join me in the space of stillness between the notes.
Thank you, Anna. Very pleased to have with us today, as our guest speaker, my good friend, Dr. Jessica Kross. She is a retired professor of history at USC and has been a member of this congregation for the past 47 years. She started to explore Buddhism and began a meditation practice in 1984. She did her first Buddhist 10-day silent retreat in 1985 and has attended some 50-plus retreats of varying lengths since then. She is one of the lay teachers at the Insight Meditation Community of Columbia, which meets on Zoom every Monday night and welcomes any of you to attend. You can contact her email at jcross943@gmail.com. Jessica?
Well, it's always a great pleasure and honor to be up here. And it is wonderful to work with Richard and with Anna. You don't know how easy they make it and how accommodating they are and how smoothly they make things happen. Our opening words today are from the Zen master Foyan, who lived from 1067 to 1120. And the name of the little excerpt is Mind and World. Once there was a monk who specialized in the Buddhist precepts and had kept to them all his life. Once, when he was walking at night, he stepped on something. It made a squishing sound, and he imagined he had stepped on an egg-bearing frog. This caused him no end of alarm and regret in view of the Buddhist precept against taking life. And when he finally went to sleep that night, he dreamed that hundreds of frogs came to him demanding his life. The monk was terribly upset. But when morning came, he looked and found that what he had stepped on was an overripe eggplant. At that moment, his feelings of uncertainty suddenly stopped. And for the first time, he realized the meaning of the saying that there is no objective world. Then he finally knew how to practice Zen. And we have a little story for all ages, and looking out, all ages seem to be more my age, but that's okay. Glad to have younger people. This is from Idries Shah's series of books about the prankster, jokester, holy fool, the Mullah Nasruddin. And this little story's name is Moment in Time. What is fate? Nasruddin was asked by a scholar. An endless succession of intertwined events, each influencing the other. That is hardly a satisfactory answer. I believe in cause and effect. Very well, said Mullah. Look at that. He pointed to a procession passing in the street. That man is being taken to be hanged. Is that because someone gave him a silver piece and enabled him to buy the knife with which he committed the murder? Or because someone saw him do it? Or because nobody stopped him? I'll stay here. Do you need any of this stuff?
One thing that Jessica says a lot when she comes up to the podium is that she's vertically challenged. Well, I guess I am too, except the other direction. So, interesting commentary on that. It's now time for our Candles of Community. If you have a significant personal joy sorrow, or concern you would like to have shared from this pulpit, please phone or email Andrea, our administrator, by noon on Friday. But if you would like to speak for yourself before the service begins, which I hope a number of you have done already, pick up one of the candles in the baskets out in the foyer and come forward and speak briefly when requested. And for those of you on streaming, if you're watching, it's the same thing. If you want to have something read, why just let us know later in the week. Email Andrea. Jane and JP, why don't you start, because I know you have one, and I'll read this for you while you light the candle. Jane and JP light a candle for Roy Lee Morgan. He is a former member and longtime attending friend who drove all the way from Sumter to attend the forum and the in-person services. He died suddenly on January the 18th. He will be missed by his forum buddies and the rest of us. Now, anyone else who has taken a candle, would you please come forward at this time?
I'm going to make this really quick, but I just wanted to shout out a celebration that Andrea is staying. So, awesome.
Yes, Andrew's our administrator that I just mentioned here. Pat?
Another vertically challenged. Hi, my name is Pat Moore, and I'm up here to light a candle of remembrance for someone who you might have known. His name was Bob Scott, and he died a few weeks ago. And the reason I'm up here is I went to his visitation yesterday. And I can only feel sorry for those of you who never knew this man. A lot of people refer to him as the Renaissance man. This man not only had a doctorate in psychology, I got to know him because we both went to the University of Nebraska. And I knew him about 30 years ago when he first started going to the forum. He was a professor of psychology. He built a sailboat in his backyard. He went to Juilliard. He was a gifted pianist. He was a scout master. I never knew that. I'm going to leave these on the front. I won't tell you about everything else this man did, but brilliant, kind, gifted. He was a Renaissance man. And these are programs from his visitation with his obituary on the back. So I'm going to leave these on a front table for those of you who would like to see him.
Thank you, Pat. Other candles? Anyone else? Then we do enter one candle, final candle for those joys and concerns that are private and that remain silent in our hearts. Now, to ponder these joys and concerns we just heard, let us take a moment in silent meditation. Okay. It's now time for the sharing our abundance. This congregation contributes to Share the Plate, where half of our cash collection each Sunday goes to local charities, which is a way for us to give back to the community that we live in. This month's Share the Plate recipient is South Carolina Appleseed Legal Justice Center. This is a center that fights for low-income South Carolinians to overcome social, economic, and legal injustice. Their goal is to influence policymakers to ensure that the law is fair, to educate the public and their advocates about the law, and to assist attorneys in bringing systemic litigation where the law is indeed unfair. For more information about South Carolina Appleseed, please visit scjustice.org. And if you're going to contribute by check to any of this, please share the plate on the memo line, or you can make an online contribution. Just go to our website, and you'll click on donate, and it'll tell you exactly where to go. And those of you who are on streaming and on Zoom, you may certainly contribute also by going to the website. Will the ushers come forward, please?
Our offertory this morning is the Concerto in D minor by Alessandro Marcello, transcribed by J.S. Bach.
Thank you. We thank Anna and Johann Sebastian Bach for that. We receive these gifts with gratitude and appreciation as it demonstrates that we are truly a giving community.
Thank you. I'm not sure that we often pair impatience and helplessness, but if you think about your own behaviors, you might see that the two are linked in ways that perhaps are fairly uncomfortable. I was recently caught in a period of uncertainty, and I thought I would share how my Buddhism helped me. I realized fairly early in this Buddhist game, excuse me, that sitting on the cushion is the least part of it. It's what you do in the world. It's what you can bring to yourself that allows you to go through the world. As our opening hymn said, with joy and woe, because the human condition is joy and woe, and whether you like it or not, you are entrapped, put it that way, in the human condition. So here I am, and I needed a hip replacement. The medical practice I am seeing has a doctor who gets okay reviews. I've talked to him. I like him well enough. I understand that nothing that I know is going to help me to make any kind of informed decision. The best doctor in town is accepting patients, but I'm having trouble getting to see him. I won't go into the gory details, but it has to do with his office. And it's an office I've had trouble with before. Not a good sign. I'm feeling both impatient and helpless. I'm waiting for people to call me or message me back, which they seem absolutely unable to do. I will not say unwilling, because that suggests they are giving thought to the matter, and to me personally, neither of which I think is true. I'm impatient with my inactivity generally, as it's painful to move around very much. I'm an unhappy camper. I want things to be different. And it is the wanting that alerts my Buddhist radar to what my mind is doing. So sometimes it's best to go back to basics. In Buddhism, that would be the Four Noble Truths. The scholar and teacher of Buddhism, Stephen Batchelor, suggests it makes sense to think of these not as truths, since the Buddha asked us to question so-called truths, but rather as tasks, since the Buddha was trying to show people a better way to live. And this is from Batchelor, who starts out with, in classical terminology, the fourfold task is this. Suffering, dukkha, is to be comprehended. The arising of dukkha is to be let go of. The ceasing is to be beheld, and the path forward is to be cultivated. In more colloquial language, the task can be summarized as a set of injunctions. Embrace life. Let go of what arises. See its ceasing. And then act. The first noble truth is that life is filled with dissatisfactions. And this is from the Buddhist suttas. Now this, monks, is the noble truth of suffering. Birth is suffering. Aging is suffering. Illness is suffering. Death is suffering. Union with what is displeasing is suffering. Separation from what is pleasing is suffering. Not to get what one wants is suffering. In brief, clinging is suffering. Another way to phrase this is that we are all human beings, and so subject to the highs and lows, joys and sorrows that accompany all human life. It might help not to take our humanity personally. I have a bum hip. Maybe the gods have singled me out. But it's more likely that for 77 years I've used this hip, that since my mother had osteoarthritis and had a hip replacement, I might have inherited that. I know I have osteoarthritis, and I'm reminded of it lest I forget every time I look at my hands. Or, even worse, my right foot. Where I am at this moment is a result of all that has gone before, the seeds that got planted. If somebody else had the exact same seeds, they would have the exact same bum hip. Taking this line of thinking a little further, the various doctors' offices which are not communicating with me are the products of their own seeds. I just happen to be on the other end at this particular time. I bet this has also happened to some of you. It helps to have a sense of humor about it. Bless their hearts. The second noble truth is that we can understand the sources of our dissatisfactions. And what the Buddha said was, "Now this, monks, is the noble truth of the origin of suffering. It is this craving that leads to renewed existence, accompanied by delight and lust. Seeking delight here and there, that is, craving for sensual pleasures, craving for existence, craving for non-existence. What then needs to be let go of? Well, there are the big three: greed, hatred, and delusion. These are what the Buddha means by craving. We want what we want when we want it, and when we don't see it, we are being driven. It is easy to confuse want and need. Our needs are relatively few: food, shelter, clothing, human companionship, love. Our wants are endless. At base, though, these wants boil down to wanting reality to be different from what it is. I want a call back from the doctor's office, and I want it now. I want them to say what I want them to say. And when I am sitting here with the phone not ringing, my mind goes from impatience to something more primitive and frightening. For most of us, feeling helpless bounces us back to ourselves as children. And children, of course, are dependent on others for their very survival. Those feelings are not trivial, but they can also be examined. Helplessness gets me in my stomach. I can begin to feel agitated and panicky. I'm slightly nauseous, or I can't get my breath. What then is the reality? There are times that I am helpless. The train has left the station, and I am either along for the ride, but certainly not in charge, or I've missed it entirely and sit abandoned at the station. Either way, I am where I am, and the panicking feelings of helplessness dissipate. They may return, but they are not me. They are mind states. If what I need to do is ride them out, then it is better to know that that is the situation. I'm having feelings of helplessness, and in time, they will change. That is the reality of things, of all things. I can tell myself stories about all of this, but again, if I do, it is better to see them as stories, made up by me, and not some cosmic or even earthbound truth. The delusion is that this very uncomfortable state is permanent. The delusion is that only I have ever felt this way and am being singled out somehow, somewhere, by someone. The third noble truth is that there is a way out of the incessant drivenness of craving, hatred, and delusion, and that we can get there. The Buddha had much less to say about this, only that he knows there is a way out. Stephen Batchelor says it is the seeing of the way out. Another way to put it is that I have a clearer sense that I am doing this to myself, and I have some choices about that. A term that Buddhist circles like is reactivity. There was a saying when I was young, and maybe when some of you were younger, and you will remember this, that we need to put brain in gear before opening mouth. Does that sound familiar? We have all reacted to something in the moment and realized either sooner or later that our reaction was not appropriate. It is neither useful nor kind. The third noble truth says that we can train ourselves to do more brain gearing and less mouth opening. It's hard to see that the insult or the neglect or the abuse might not be personal. The seeds were right. If the seeds had been right for somebody else, it would have happened to them. This might sound callous, but is not meant to deny that many of us have suffered real harm. Buddhism uses the metaphor of the second arrow. The first arrow is what actually happens. The second arrow is what our mind has done with it. We may not have any control over the first arrow, but we have some control about the second. The way out, the fourth noble truth, is through the Noble Eightfold Path. And I'm not going to say much about that today, but I'm going to go back to impatience and helplessness. The fourth of the tasks is to act. I can deal with these agitating and frightening mind states if I understand that that is what they are and thus can behave appropriately. I like the term appropriate rather than the more traditional way of thinking about the Noble Eightfold Path as right action or right mindfulness or right this or right that. An appropriate response will be compassionate. If I see the reality of what is happening, that the doctor's offices are apparently not well run, that I am in physical distress, that I need others to help me, that I cannot get what I want when I want it, I will be in a much better position to act in ways that are best for me. I will take appropriate action by going with the office that seems to pay attention. I will be polite. I will be patient. I will do whatever preparation will secure the best outcome. I will make my decisions based on the information I have and not second guess myself. I will forbear subjecting those around me to a whining litany of others' incompetence. Sound familiar? I cannot turn off my feelings of impatience and helplessness, but I can learn to see them, be with them, and perhaps in time do what the Buddha did, which was invite them in for tea. Thank you.
Our closing music, Be Lamps Unto Yourself, features words attributed to the Buddha.
Truth will
Our closing words are attributed to Kaladatha and come from our own hymn book. Look to this day, for it is life, the very life of life. In its brief course lie all the verities and realities of your existence, the bliss of growth, the glory of action, the splendor of beauty. For yesterday is but a dream, and tomorrow is only a vision. But today, well lived, makes every yesterday a dream of happiness, and every tomorrow a vision of hope. Look well, therefore, to this day.
Thank you, Jessica. I just want to remind you, too, that this service has been streamed and it is recorded on YouTube. So, David, I think this gets posted within an hour or so after we finish here. Is that right? Immediately. So, if you want to listen to it again, go home, make the connection. At any rate, it's time to extinguish our chalice. We extinguish this chalice at the end of our time here today. May its flame glow gently in our hearts and light our paths as we leave this place until we are together again.
As we conclude with our musical benediction, I remind you, if you choose to join me in singing, please be sure your mask is secured over your face, nose, and mouth. May the blessings of truth be upon us. May the power of love direct us. And may the peace of this community sustain us till we meet again.
Well, thank you, Anna. Thank you, Jessica. So this concludes our service. You are welcome to stay and visit. We hope you do, but you may do so outside. Please leave and go outside. I know that's difficult to do, and you can be unmasked or whatever at your option. Go through the front doors, go through the side doors, out on the patio. We may need some help with the chairs in and out afterwards, so if you would help with that afterwards. So lend a helping hand. Now, so for those of you in the sanctuary and for those of you who are streaming with us, we will see you right here next week. See you then.